Welcome back, everyone, to another session of Big Data Days 2022. My name is Jeremy, and I'll be the host for this session. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome our next speaker, Ms. Robey. So, let me just first give a brief introduction about Robey. Through Robey's experience in various types of data science organizations, she has gained a clear understanding of which steps needs to be taken to successfully develop analytics solutions. She has incorporated these steps into an analytics growth process for both startups and corporate companies. Within the Rabobank, she's responsible for the analytics way of working. The current focus is to provide bank-wide guidelines for analytics practitioners and establish an analytics community within the bank. In addition, she aims to shake up industries with innovation as co-founder on the AI startup UAI. So in this session, Robbie will show us how by following the analytics growth process, both the startup and the corporate world can get a clear understanding on what to do and when at each different growth stage. Robbie will share the recommended analytics growth model that any type of company may apply to be ready for the next growth step at any time. So Robbie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Most welcome.
Perfect. So hi, everyone. I'm Robey de Jong, and I'm curious to learn if you get enough triggers to challenge your own status quo in your current role. So please go to the menu on the right-hand side. There you see the poll options. And there you see the first question. I'd like to ask you to give answer to that question. So answer yes to that question if you still have the feeling that you're actively being challenged. I see some answers are coming in. Great. So I see that there are some people that have the feeling that they're still being challenged. That's great. So I would like to ask these people who answered yes to this question to answer the following question as well. Can you challenge your status quo because you're focusing on multiple topics at the same time or you're fulfilling more than one role? So answer yes to poll question 2 if either of these options is correct. And if you challenge yourself in another way, then the answer would be no. And please enlighten us via the chat how you challenge yourself. Could be in one word or in a sentence, so everybody can learn from it. Thank you all for your participation. Personally, I have noticed that I can challenge myself more and discover more exciting things when I do not focus on one specific role. Because in a specific role, the focus is often channeled to a specific result, and therefore the same processes are repeated. And that could lead to a situation in which you perform the task in an automatic way. And as a consequence, you miss out on external inspiration and insight. And that's a shame because these external insight and inspiration could help you and has a positive effect to perform your role even better. So what roles do I fulfill? Most of my time I spent in my role at the Rabobank, where I'm responsible for the analytics way of working throughout the organization. At the right moment in time, guiding analytics practitioners from ID to redevelopment into implementation with their analytics use cases. Besides this main role, I'm the co-founder of the AI startup UAI, where we build innovative AI solutions. So for example, a deepfake combined with a motion algorithm to let the portrait walk and talk. A couple of weeks back, we had a big exposition with UAI where we presented our talking portrait. Another official role I have is a position as vice president at the NGO Cosmo Queen Foundation. And Cosmo Queen fights for empowerment through education and work projects. And I'm responsible within Cosmo Queen for the strategy, partnerships, and operations. And today, we're going to look at the roles within a startup and a corporate. And I would like to ask you to go to the third poll question and explain to me on what kind of organization you're working. So the poll question is, what type of organization do you work at? Is it a startup or a big corporate? And choose the closest answer. And I will provide the definition. So startups is defined as a temporary organization designed to search for a scalable, replicable business model. And a corporate is a permanent organization designed to execute a scaled business model repeatedly. Going to look at the poll results. I see that it was 80% startups. Now it's going like 57 startups, 43 corporates. That's good to be aware of. And also for you, because both organizations need another guidance towards their own success. And this can be best explained by looking at the framework, the low alignment, low autonomy, high autonomy framework coined by Hendrik Knubberg. But let me explain the framework first. So if you look at the bottom left part of the framework, you find micromanaging organizations where people actually live their own culture and just act according to their own rules. As you can assume, if you would like to grow, nobody wants to stay here long. Startups can be found in a low alignment, high autonomy environment. This can feel a bit chaotic because there is less alignment as preferred. However, people are working on data-driven products autonomously and they're happy. In the top part of the framework, you have more alignment. And on the upper left side of the framework, you find corporate organizations or authoritative organization with a conformist culture. A lot of things get done in these kind of organizations. People have alignment and there are rules on how things work. But however, this is not necessarily the environment where you feel engaged and empowered in the activities you are performing because there's lack of autonomy. The focus is mainly on the process and less on looking at things from a user-friendly perspective. In the top right part of the framework, you have innovative organizations where there's room for group thinking and people are thinking together, which leads to an innovative and challenging environment. The problem with growing organization is that you cannot jump directly from the bottom two ones straight to the top right corner, to the collaborative organizations where is a high alignment and an user-friendly environment. The gap is simply too big. Because if we look at corporates and startups, we see that the startup is focusing on the product and the corporates are focusing on the process. And these two worlds come together at my startup UI, where our team learned all at the corporate that alignment and processes are important too. The lessons learned of the corporate help us to avoid and prevent pitfalls of the startup. However, we also greatly enjoy and use the freedom of the startup to find scalable business models. And we have tested many AI solutions before the product hit the market. For example, a carbon compensation model for which was a gap in the market. We were already talking to potential customers, and then all of a sudden, Adyen released exactly the same service out of the blue. Okay, we're never going to win that, of course. So you need a lean and agile team and process in order to pivot immediately in these kind of situations. And we then decided together with the team that we only start building our solution when we have a paying customer. But you need a strong culture and mission for that because the product gets tangible at a later stage. What we bring with us from the startup to a corporate environment is that you need to continuously learn and collect feedback and leave room in your sprint plannings to process this feedback immediately. What we learned in a corporate environment is the importance of quality controls and that the necessary approvals need to be obtained. People know on what role they're in and there's a clear division of roles. And as a result, you have scaled up processes and resources, which can often feel a bit inflexible. And by startups, it's good to look in an early stage at the user acceptance testing for your process as well. So you can create a way of working that is suitable for different type of users as well as different type of analytic solutions. Because within corporates, you could build structural models, dashboard reports, but also one-off solutions like an ad hoc analysis or models. And you all want to guide them through a fit-for-purpose process. And you must prevent applying a fixed process blindly, because for a corporate, the process needs to be adaptable too, just like the product within the startup, without losing the basic structure. Because the basic structure is a recognition point and where you can start building on within the startup. And the switch from product to process has a big impact on the startup's culture. And to prepare your organizations to go through the different growth phases of the framework of Heinrich Knubberg, I've set up the analytics growth process. And that is applicable and can be used for startups and for corporates. For example, startups can use it to loosely guide analytics practitioners who are used to act fast and explorative without too many rules to the more corporate focus, the process focus in an early stage. And this is the analytics growth process, and it's split up in different steps. And for each next phase of organizational growth, this structure must be gradually worked out in more detail and implemented to preserve, among other things, of course, your organization DNA and your people. The first step of the analytics growth process is the identification of themes. And themes are areas and categories you need to focus on when building your analytics solution. Within corporates, these areas and categories are already clearly defined because there are processes in place addressing these categories. The basic themes I have identified are the following. It's data privacy, it's a statistical component of your solution, so analytical solution, it's business, it's ethics, model risk, and IT, where your solution needs to be embedded in. And themes help startups to identify the areas that you need to focus on when building your analytics solution. And on the other side, it helps to give people within a certain theme a certain degree of autonomy. And when you decide to add additional steps or additional themes to this basic theme setup, you need to make sure that they are not subordinate and that they're an equal of rank. Because the next step in this growth process are high-level steps. And it is an initial specification of a theme. And these high-level steps need to be specific and clearly defined. Because over time, this is the first step to move away from low alignment toward high alignment within your startup. And if you look at the team analytical solution, I have identified 11 analytics solutions. Understand the business need, identify reusability options, describe high-level solutions, create product foundation, deliver solution, capture data and solution settings, check quality, prepare pilot, prepare usage, share learnings and results, monitor solutions. Wow. Okay, the list can be drawn up and implemented in one go. However, if you would like to maintain your autonomous culture, I would only advise you to implement the high-level steps that are required and you need to have mutual coordination on. And over time you implement the remaining high-level steps. One high-level step we needed to have mutual agreement on within the startup was understand the business need. Because when are enough requirements collected and the business need is clearly defined before you're allowed to start building. Our DevOps engineer almost spun up like 5 GPUs before the willingness to pay for our product and the proposition was well written out based on the business needs. We then jointly agree that we only start developing when these business needs are clearly defined. This also ensures that you do not unnecessarily invest money and time in a solution that does not appear to be successful. Fine-tuning high-level steps under themes ensures efficiency. And if we look at another theme, data and privacy. And then here you see also the high-level steps. We look at capture data and solution settings. This does not necessarily tell you what question to ask yourself. Therefore, you need key questions. And the two key questions underneath capture data and solution settings are: how do I preserve the input, output parameters and metadata using in building? And how did you make end users aware of the data used in the solutions? So this is the next step in analytics growth process and a further breakdown under themes. Because for each high-level step, you define which question must at least be answered in order to successfully deliver the analytics solution. I don't know if you have experienced the people that said that they are working at a corporate, but within corporates, I have experienced that people are going and think they're ready for production and they're like, yes, the solution is almost finalized, and they're sent back with a long list of action points. How demotivating is that? So the key questions should actually feel like a tool, a checklist that helps you in a structured way to go through all the essential topics and be ready for production. However, the key questions are a fixed set of key questions. The development team remains free to decide how they want to approach the key question and or if they would like to add a certain key question of the issue at hand. You will notice that as more high-level steps and quick questions are added, they will be gradually prioritized on the basis of logical order to be answered and executed. The next step in the analytics growth process are phases. And you can then decide to split up your high-level steps and key questions up in phases, because phases help to cluster these high-level steps and key questions into focused time periods to assure quality. If you go back to the example of the GPUs, the DevOps engineer spun up the GPUs in the exploration phase, and we now ask him to do that in the rebuild and test phase. Furthermore, the transition between phases help you to carry out quality checks with the help of stage gate crossing sessions. And this decision-making mechanism will help you to assure quality and to increase alignment. But it limits the freedom of the development team. So that's something you should to consider when you're implementing phases within your organization. And then the next phase of the analytics growth process are content pages. And content pages is something that as your organization grows, it must also mature. And within startups, you experience that they suffer of growing pain, and corporates experience knowledge differences. For example, people that join the organization that only have experience of one specific theme or a high-level step, or people come straight from university. So in and within the themes, you notice that there are becoming knowledge differences, and that people have different maturity levels, and that companies don't have the possibilities to train everyone up to the same level. However, it is very important that everyone remains or is going to speak the same language, and therefore is also going to use the same terminology and definitions. Because what I've often noticed as well is that when people are not going to talk the same language, so for example, they're going to use other terminology but actually mean the same definition, there's a risk of misunderstanding. So for example, people say, I'm going to build a data foundation. And you're like, but a data foundation, I'm going to call it a data fundament. What actually are you going to build? It's called the data model. So there's a lot of misunderstanding between the team, and eventually you find out that they all mean the same thing. But there was a risk of misunderstanding, it happened, and you lost crucial time of it. And that's a shame. For that reason, I have decided to include content pages. So that's an exploratory page of a key question. And in this page, you write down why the key question is important, which activities to complete, how to answer it, which people to involve, which approvals are required, and which templates to use. And in this way, you create standards within the organization and help everyone understand how to create a certain key question and how it should be carried out. Because the bigger the organization becomes, the more time you spend on getting everyone in line to understand how a certain key question needs to be performed in order to get approval for a phase crossing. Okay, in the beginning, I have explained that it's important that you need to have a structured process, so a basic fixed structure as a recognition point. And this structure must also be set up in a scalable way in order for your organization that it could be used for other solutions as well. Because you can build one-off solutions, so ad hoc analysis, as well as dashboards, reports, and models. And when you look at phases, so the phases were ID, exploration, rebuild and test, and usage, scalability was taken into account from the start because it applies to all analytic solutions. And that's why one of the reasons why I've included the tracks. The tracks help you to select the set of key questions which best fit the goal of your analytic solution. Because if you're going to build an analysis, not all high-level steps and key questions are applicable. So therefore, you start as a basic first step of your analytics growth process with identification of the track. So are you going to build a one-off solution that's going to be insight? Are you going to build a one-off statistical model? So that's going to be a model that is going to be used one time and doesn't have to be embedded in IT. Or you're going to build a structural insight or a statistical model. And the tracks add a filtering to the standard set of key questions so that people get one fit for purpose process. Because there are fixed key questions, you maintain consistency between the solutions. And in addition, it ensures that you can make an organization-wide analytics portfolio in which you can identify in which phase all analytics solutions are. And this also has the benefit that people have an overview of all solutions that are being built in the organization, so you prevent building the same solutions without people not knowing it within the organization. Within your organization, the analytics growth process becomes more specific based on the feedback you collect and the lessons learned. And it will be expanded because of the rapidly growing analytics world. So one topic that I've recently included in analytics growth process is responsible AI. And I've included it under the currently existing high-level steps and key questions. So if we look at the theme analytical solutions, I've included explainability, objectivity, fairness, and model drift under the currently existing key questions and high-level steps under analytical solutions. And I did the same for data and privacy, where I included social bias and unwanted attributes. So by including responsible AI under the currently existing key questions, I really made sure that the current users of the next way of working did not really feel it to be a major transformation throughout the organization. But you can also decide if you stick to the basic structure and about this setup to add new high-level steps and key questions. That will also make sure that it doesn't be felt like a major transformation throughout the organization. This is the analytics growth process, and I have explained to you step by step how you could set it up and how you can prepare yourself for growth throughout the organization. This is an overview how the analytics growth process can prepare you for growth step by step. And I would like to ask you to go through the last poll question. And I'm wondering do you have anyone responsible at your organization for the process? I see some answers are coming in, so it's a draw. It's 50-50 still. Okay, great. I've explained that it's not possible for growing organization to go directly from a small organization with a high level of autonomy to a collaborative organization with a high level of alignment. The next growth process will help you step by step to prepare you for growth in an easy and scalable way. And I have 3 takeaways for you. The first one is it's crucial to start with the analytics growth process early to preserve your DNA and your people. The second one is that for each phase of the analytics growth process, the skilled basic structure must be gradually worked out and be implemented to not be perceived as a major transformation throughout your organization. And the third one is that you must make people responsible for the process permanently and continuously learn and adapt. If we look at the results of the poll question, I see that 67% say that they have someone responsible. So that's great to hear. And I see that 33% don't have people responsible. So please ask yourself, do you want to be that person to be responsible for the process? And if not, please take these lessons learned with you in the company, act upon it, and challenge your environment. This is how I guide my startup and corporate through the different growth phases. I have applied insights and experience from one role into another, benefiting both environments. Will you take insights and inspirations from another role, or maybe from this talk today or this conference, to your main role to challenge yourself and your environment? This is what makes my heart beat faster. And I hope we'll do the same for yours after today. Thanks for your attention.
Much, Robbie, for this amazing session. It's very insightful. So since we still have some time for this session before we close, we can go into the Q&A session now. So any of you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A, the question box on the right-hand side of the screen to just type out the questions. Okay?
Yeah.
Let me see if I have any questions there. No, not yet. Maybe just give them a few more seconds.
Yeah,
Probably
that's okay.
just a question from my side. How did you manage to come up with this analytics growth model? How did you manage to come up with this? Just amazing.
Yeah, that's a good question, because how do you end up in the processes? um, it mainly I came across it because I was working in analytics projects myself as one of the development team members, and based on that you collect like a lot of lessons learned, and based on that you're going to create a process for yourself, like how can I successfully guide my team through the different phases in order to implement it successfully. And by collecting that, my department also asked me in my organization to release it and make it available for the wider team.
I see.
And then there was a competence center set up within Rabobank, and then they asked me to be responsible for the process throughout the bank. So that was one of the moments that I decided to make it work for the whole company. And this is not something that in this way is applicable within Rabobank as well. That's only a corporate environment. However, then I thought of how can it be applicable and used as a growth model for startups and corporates, because I noticed that a lot of people struggle with moving from the startup culture directly to the entrepreneurial environment as well as to the corporate environment. So that was one of the reasons why I thought, let's talk about it more and share my knowledge with everyone.
Very nice. Is this published anywhere that if you want to learn more about this, how can we find more about this model?
And not yet. This is like the second time I talk about it. One time it was in the Netherlands on a small conference, so that was in Dutch, and this time I do it in English to have a further reach.
Nice.
But it's a good idea to write about it somewhere that people can read through it as well.
Yep, definitely looking forward to your book.
Next steps.
Yep. So let me check again if we have any other questions from the participants. Well, I don't see any questions here. So Robbie, any last things that you would like to share with the participants before we close this session?
Yeah, I hope that there aren't any questions because everything was clearly explained. If not, or you have additional questions, you have my name. You can always reach out to me, and I'm looking forward to talk about this topic another time.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Robbie, for joining this session. Hope to see you again. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye, everyone.
So for the rest of the participants, let me share with you. Actually, we do have one more upcoming session. Let me just share my screen. Okay. So the next 30 minutes, we have another speaker, Jordan, who will be talking about being data-driven and data literate, truly harness the power of data. So if you're interested in joining this session, feel free to go through the agenda again. Just click on the session and I'll see you next in another 30 minutes. Okay. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. And thank you, Robbie, for joining. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.